So welcome everyone to the Sunday Dharma talk, which is entitled How to Be Happy and Feel Contentment through Kum Nye Tibetan Yoga. A very catchy title, I think, among the titles. Now I'm Abbe Blum, and I have been coming to the Nyingma Institute and taking classes now for 30 plus years, and am an instructor in various aspects in Kum Nye Tibetan Yoga and in teachings that have to do with Buddhist psychology and mind. And I'm here along with Donna, who will introduce herself in a moment, to talk about this topic about how through Kum Nye practice, regular practice, we can tune into our own inner resources and also develop a capacity to open into kind of deeper spiritual realms or experience. Part of what we'll be talking about tonight are particular opportunities in teacher training, in Tibetan yoga teacher training that are coming up. I'm going to be talking about Joy of Being, which is the second book and training in Tibetan yoga. And I'm going to hand it over to Donna. And those trainings will start later in the fall, in October. And Donna will be talking about another training very shortly. So,
thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. So I'm Donna Morton. I've been an instructor of Kum Nye relaxation for 20 plus years here at the Nyingma Institute. I'm curious, is there anybody on screen here who has not had an experience of Kum Nye? Is it new to anybody? So at least two people? Okay, excellent. So I'm going to read first let me back up a little bit. Kum Nye relaxation is, you could call it a healing system in one sense. It sets up a pathway to meditation, a pathway to spiritual development, a pathway to just developing our own, as Abbe indicated, our own inner resources so that we could be healthier and more balanced and enjoy life more fully. And Kum Nye relaxation is a system that was developed right here at the Nyingma Institute, where we are now, 50 plus years ago. The first text was, and this is called currently Kum Nye Tibetan Yoga, was published in 1978, actually in 2 volumes. And it's currently called Kum Nye Tibetan Yoga, but initially it was Kum Nye relaxation. And I think we're more and more going back to that original title. Because when people think of yoga, they have a little bit different, or kind of come in with a certain preconceptions of what yoga is going to be. And Kum Nye is a little different path. And in some ways we don't want to set up any kind of comparison, but there are certain depths to Kum Nye that may be more difficult to reach in kind of modern yoga practice as most people understand it today. So I'd like to read a little bit from the preface from this first text, and to kind of give you a little bit of a feeling for how Kum Nye distinguishes itself. And so this is from the 1978 edition. So Kum Nye relaxation is a gentle healing system which vitalizes body, mind, and senses by means of breathing exercises, self-massage, postures, and movement. And in doing so, it transforms negative patterns, relieves stress, helps us to be more balanced and healthy, and increases our enjoyment and appreciation of life. In these times when confusion and chaos are part of daily activity, now this was written in the 70s, we can tell that this is true for just about any era, but maybe particularly true in the current state of things. You know, in this state, we are often too tense and charged up to enjoy life. Kum Nye opens our senses and our hearts so that we feel satisfied and fulfilled and can appreciate more fully every aspect of our lives. Even in a short time, the quality of experience can be enriched and our lives grow more harmonious. The unique value of the Kum Nye system of relaxation is that it integrates and balances two approaches, the physical and the psychological. Kum Nye heals both our bodies and minds, bringing their energies together to function calmly and smoothly. As it leads to the integration of body and mind in all our activities, this relaxation has a vital and lasting quality greater than the feeling of well-being experienced in physical exercise or even in disciplines such as yoga. When we learn to open our senses and touch our feelings directly, our bodies and minds make contact with one another, and all experience becomes rich, healthy, and more beautiful. As we become deeply acquainted with ourselves and our self-understanding grows, we are also able to share more fully with others. And just like most things in life, relaxation is a practice that gets better with actual practice. So some people come to the Institute and really benefit greatly from a once a week dipping their toes into Kum Nye to help relieve stress. And it's very beneficial in that way. But when done, especially as a daily practice, the benefits accrue even more deeply and more profoundly. And it really sets up an excellent foundation for meditation. And really, this relaxation is the foundation of spiritual practice. And one last quote, he says, these simple exercises, and they are simple. We're going to do a couple exercises in just a moment, but they help us develop the abundant riches of our inner resources in a natural way. Even if nothing in particular appears to be happening while you're doing an exercise, a change will be gradually occurring in the quality of your daily life. So Kum Nye begins very simply, and it begins in sitting, in stillness. Now, just the way the camera is, you can't see, both Abbe and I are sitting on a meditation cushion on the floor, but you can easily do this in a chair as well. The main features of the sitting posture, which really becomes our home base in Kum Nye, is the stability of the base. So whether it's your pelvis on the cushion or seat, knees on the floor or feet flat on the floor, that gives the foundation of the what we call the 7 gestures posture, gives that earth quality, stability. And from this base, then we want to stack our spine upright. And that gives a certain uplifted quality, a quality of alertness. It also, Kum Nye, it works with this more subtle energetic system. It helps to line up these subtle channels within our embodiment here. We don't want it to be rigid, however, so just upright, but not rigid, supple. Let the neck draw back and up a little bit. The chin will naturally come down a bit, and you can feel that neck lengthen up. Hands can rest palms down on your thighs or knees, wherever they naturally reach. And you might want to seat your shoulders back a little bit. I like to bring them up, roll them back, and then release them down. Might find a new place for your hands. Chest will naturally be open in this way, helping to let us breathe more fully, more deeply. Relax your jaw and let your jaw come down so that the teeth are slightly parted. Lips are slightly parted as well. In Kum Nye, we use a very unique yogic way of breathing, where we allow the breath to move in and out through both nose and mouth. But the breath is very soft. It's light, yet we encourage it to move deeply. So let's just take a few deeper breaths. Feel that diaphragm come down, let your belly relax. Expand outward on the in-breath. And let the breath release through nose and mouth, naturally, belly, chest. Feel the ribs expand, back and sides, front. You can just imagine vitalizing energies moving into the body through the breath, passing through the bloodstream, moving to all the cells, tissues of the body. And then let your breath just settle into a calm and even rhythm. At first, if you're not accustomed to this way of breathing, it may feel a little awkward. We can add one element, and that's bringing the tip of the tongue to lightly contact the upper palate behind the front teeth. So the tongue itself is relaxed, but just the tip curls upward. This actually helps to balance that breath, moving through nose and mouth. And our final gesture, our eyes. I want the gaze to be soft. Our lids can be slightly closed. Gaze gently directed downward along the line of your nose, but not looking at anything in particular. Relax the muscles around the eyes. Can you imagine the eyes like two-way channels, gazing inwardly to our own internal experience as well as outward? Kum Nye, we use this soft gaze, an inward and outward focus, balancing inner experience and the outer environment. Time discovering that that distinction be not so maybe more permeable than we realize. And you feel your whole presence from that base, hands, spine, lengthening up, crown of the head, the relaxed jaw, tip of the tongue, eyes, creating a complete gesture of balance. The currency of Kum Nye is feeling. So as we sit here, we can start to become aware of feelings, kind of more subtle feelings that may escape our notice when we're moving about. So let's stir this feeling experience within. Right now it may be a little opaque, or you may notice various sensations, maybe in particular parts of the body. But let's stir this internal sensation with a little movement. We're going to start with a very simple seated practice called touching feeling. And here we're just going to let the shoulders rise up to the ears. And you can let your head kind of turtle down between your shoulders. Let your belly relax, lower body relax. You feel a little warmth developing in the muscles, back of the neck, upper back. And now very slowly begin to roll the shoulders back and then down. You can feel the shoulder blades and massaging down the back of the ribs. And just let your attention be married both to the movement and to the sensations that emerge as a result of moving. So as we pause here at the bottom, just notice what's different. We're going to repeat this again, nice and slow, this time on an inhale. As breathing in, shoulders rise. Hold the breath for a moment, the hair at the top. And now on an exhale, let the shoulders roll back and down. And ultimately releasing shoulders at the bottom. We're training the mind. We're training first our attention, ultimately our awareness, to stay within the body, within the realm of sensations and feelings. You know how the mind loves to travel in time. It likes to engage in all kinds of stories, worries, and such. So here we're bringing it back to direct experience of the body. So we've been sitting a while. So let's come up to standing, and we'll do a movement together. in standing. So Kum Nye has a whole variety, 100+ movement exercises, as well as massage and different postures, laying down, standing, sitting. So take a comfortable stance, feet comfortable distance apart. Let your arms relax by your sides. Feel your feet, feel the length of your body. And this is a practice called healing body and mind, and it involves bringing the arms overhead. So if there's any challenges with this practice, modify it. You can even just imagine going through the motions. We're just stimulating and stirring that internal experience. So let's begin. We're just going to bring the arms slowly up. And they're going to continue to rise up until they're fully overhead, close to your ears. Belly is relaxed and empty. And we're going to bow to the right. Your hip may shift off to the left, and we're just going to bow in a nice, graceful arc. Your right arm may come down a little bit, left arm stays close to the ear. And now let's rise up to standing upright, and then move to the left. Graceful arc. Let those ribs on that right side and the waist open like a fan. Belly relaxed, breath, nose and mouth, rising back up, center, and let's let those arms float down. You feel the sensations, even in the arms, hands, as you slowly bring the arms down to your sides. And let them relax. We're going to repeat this sequence one more time, but we're going to coordinate it with the breath this time. So same motion, but we're going to inhale the arms up. Your breathing rhythm may be a little different from mine. So inhale up and then exhale off to the right, nice and slow. When you're ready, inhaling back to center. Slowly exhaling to the left. In time with your breath. Inhaling back to center. And now, very slowly, letting the arms float down. Keeping your attention with the movement, moment to moment, and with the feelings and sensations that have been stimulated. move slowly to keep that flow of feeling going, usually moving too fast to notice. Stay with that inner experience as you come back to your seat. And part of Kum Nye is coming back to stillness and letting this inner experience continue to develop in sitting. So we come back to a posture of balance, spine upright. Contact the breath. If it's comfortable, letting it flow easily through nose and mouth. Otherwise, just let that go and breathe in a way that's comfortable for you. And then contact your experience within. And it may be something subtle or something strong. There is, you can just alight your attention with some aspect of your experience, some sensation. Even it may be a tone, a feeling tone. And breathing lightly, just stay with it. Let it continue. You don't need to know how it works or concern yourself with whether the feeling or sensation is good or bad and pleasant or unpleasant. Just with curiosity and kindness, getting really interested in this expression of life's energy in the body. Gently loosening these patterns of tension within.
everyone, you can stay with whatever sensations or flow of feeling are arising. No need to snap out of anything. But maybe some of you have friends who are old friends or kind of friends for a few years. And the second book, the Joy of Being Tibetan Yoga book, which actually has, this is Tarthang Tulku's hand with a, I think that's a zinnia, dahlia on the front of it. Maybe a book that we come to when we are starting to get to know our embodiment as we would some of our friends, older friends, so that you begin to understand and deepen the relationship. So as we're sitting now, and you can still be in the 7 gestures, it's interesting that this Joy of Being book has a similar looking description of these same 7 gestures, and talks about how regular practice will develop your ability to melt into calmness. And so it does have us keep going with that sense of regular practice. There's an addition here. Listen to your body for guidance on how to explore experience in a new way, not necessarily with words, but in movement. So sometimes when you're with a friend you've known for quite a while, what they don't say is as significant as what they are saying, or you have a sense of a shared environment and what is being expressed at different levels with different qualities. And I would say that getting to know is a big part of what we open into with these practices. It's called Advanced Kum Nye Practices for Relaxation, Integration, and Concentration. Rinpoche continues in this section called Tuning In to Relaxation. Each sensation or feeling or sound or thought is its own gesture, and each of these feeling gestures can be the seed of fresh experience. And one aspect of being with Joy of Being that's very builds on I think the curiosity and interest, Donna, that you're talking about, is that everything that happens, every gesture, every thought, every aspect of what comes up has meaning. Nothing has to be wasted. It all is communicating to us, which I think is very, very encouraging. And there's an aspect, I'll just read you, this is from the introduction to Joy of Being. So in fact, I just were doing, and Robin was in there, so she knows, we were just in a 5-day retreat that was on another work of Tarthang Tulku's, the Lotus Trilogy, which is not centered on physical body per se, but we use practices from Joy of Being, practices in sensing, and you could say in this kind of listening as a complement to the learning and understanding, you could say, the mechanisms of our habit patterns and conditioning. So whether you're working with the first book or the second book, it's as if we start to be able to listen and communicate and make friends with ourselves. You know, we are, in fact, the oldest friend or the oldest enemy, you could say, or maybe it goes back and forth, that we have. There's even a chapter in the Joy of Being that's called Making Mind Our Friend. And it's that aspect of being able to sense into what actually might support ourselves in development and allow ease to develop that comes with working with the joy of being. So here's the paragraph from the introduction. The physical exercises of Kum Nye are only the outward forms of a holistic vision of being. And being is a term that, while seeming mysterious or maybe you think you know what it means, it actually develops as you go with all these different aspects of joy of being. So it's only the outer forms of a holistic vision of being. The true value of these physical exercises lies in their ability to stimulate energy that joins body and mind in a continuum of joy and appreciation. Can you imagine like a continuum of joy and appreciation? It's not like, oh, okay, like last Wednesday, I had less pain in my knee and I briefly felt exhilaration. But with joy of being, and it's not like it's like, yes, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to get it. It's more like, this is possible. I'm interested in how there could be this flow, this continuum of joy and appreciation that actually is my birthright. It comes from my psychophysical system. So he goes on, in mastering Kum Nye, we learn how to benefit from all manner of experience. So that includes what we would categorize as unpleasant, or that may have an intensity that we shy away from, but it's not like a Marine boot camp. It's more that we become cognizant of these different elements and qualities, because it is part of our life. It is part of this knowing that comes from a deeper friendship with ourselves. He says that we gain confidence that is grounded in self-knowledge. And it's that self-knowledge aspect that joy of being is really encouraging us to open into, so that we establish a foundation of joy that can sustain us throughout our lives. So if we've been practicing Kum Nye for many years, as we have, and I have to say, so my background is in the humanities, and I had like really very little sense of my body, and some of you have heard this before, but in graduate school, if you went to a graduate school party and you saw people dancing, it was actually horrifying, because like their heads were doing one thing and their bodies were going all over, and there was just no sense of integration or relation of body and mind. So maybe some of you have that experience of graduate students and a certain kind of, not everybody at all, but just that sense that we can actually sustain ourselves through the integration of body and mind. And I think an emphasis that you get in the second book, which comes though when we've been practicing, when we continue to practice, is we learn what it means to be complete in ourselves. We discover what it means to be. So it does require continuing practice. But it also, I think what comes is real, I would say, excitement or curiosity about what our potential is with body and mind. And another aspect that's pretty interesting about joy of being, I'm telling you these things, but they're discoveries that I've only made over years. It happens at its own pace. It's not like you can push exactly, but if you open, at least I found, when I open into these suggestions, then there's an incredible reward that goes on. So what's said in this section, how to use this book, a message from the editor, it talks about how you are advised to read the book through from cover to cover before selecting an area of focus. So how many Tibetan yoga or yoga books say, read me? You know, it's actually, he wants, and Rinpoche usually wants people to read the books multiple times. So the words themselves have a massaging quality to them. They open up, I think, beyond an intellectual or a conceptual label. And he says, it is helpful to view this entire book as exercises for the mind. And it's that, what may sound, well, how can that be if we're integrating body and mind? But exercises for the mind is part of what's so interesting, not necessarily what you'd expect. So in the same section that I was reading from, where you're learning to listen to yourself, Rinpoche writes that, he says, so you're sitting in 7 gestures, for instance. As you continue your practice, he says, we're starting to create, he calls it, a new home of feeling. So perhaps we get this sense of our embodiment as something where we actually feel intrigued and we want to stay with what we are creating or opening into, that we actually have that capacity to sustain ourselves. So he says, for instance, fresh surges of vigor and vitality inspire, he calls it, an inner remodeling of our way of being. Expanded and deepened, and it's that deepening that also we become acquainted with. This practice reveals the beauty of our own spiritual qualities and leads naturally into meditation. Naturally into meditation. Many of us, you know, we've been with different meditation programs, we've tried many different things, and I'm not telling us to stop those, but there's a quality with Kum Nye, and it's with the first book and the second book, that encourages us to naturally open more deeply into meditation. But he calls it here creating a home that we can enter whenever we wish. And as we continue the practice, he says, you may find the sense of ease and relaxation extends into more and more of our daily activities. That's what you may start to notice as you continue to practice. It's like, I've got to relax. I've got to stop stressing out. But what happens is that there may be a kind of access to a kind of home, not like we can mechanistically go into relaxation, but it becomes available to us. Familiar patterns tend to repeat themselves. Memories come up, bringing with them fantasies and other kinds of imaginings and reverie. But all of this mental activity can become part of your relaxation practice. And that sense of a kind of invitation, thoughts come, mental images come, you feel like jumping out of your skin, all of that becomes part of relaxation practice. So there's a kind of interest and relaxing ease, he calls it easing, that it's not even that we're gaining access to it, it's as if we're transforming and having that ability to use whatever is coming up. So I hope you get a bit of a taste of it. It's not something you can force, but it's part of us. We have that capacity. So I thought we could do a couple of exercises now that may give you a sense of what's involved in joy of being. There are actually many more, I would call them, they're kind of in between meditations and contemplations that are not formally called meditations or contemplations than there are physical exercises. The physical exercises like these, they're in the back of the book. And there's only 41 of them. There's many more in the first Kum Nye book. And in fact, in some of our Joy of Being classes, we use the first book for some, there's different ways to go about it. We don't mix them, at least that's one way. But we might use some of the exercises from the first book and then move into I don't even know how many there are. Do you know how many there are of these contemplations? And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, but they're not formally said meditation 1 and 2 and 3. But they unfold for us as a way to deepen whatever practice it is that we're doing. But we are going to do 2 physical practices now. And you may get more of a sense of what is available through Joy of Being, even through this. So if you'd like to stand up. If you want, you can shake out a little bit. And if you, right now, your gaze may still be soft from what Donna took us into. You might now, you look around your room. Do you have a sense of your location in the room? If you were going to call, the pizza delivery guy is calling you and is going to deliver the pizza to you right now, and you say, okay, I'm standing in the middle of this room and I've got about 2 feet in back of me, come through this door. There may be, that's a ridiculous example, but we may have a sense of our location in space in relation to other things. And what one element that Joy of Being works with is opening our senses and relaxing them so that the sense of our division into I'm here and everything's over there begins to loosen and soften. That's a process that started with and continues with the first book. And in fact, the first book really helps in that, in that kind of loosening up. So it's not like you can necessarily skip. But so right now, if you, let's say you're focusing on something right in front of you, if you bring your hands up and then let them expand and look as if there's a kind of continuum, as if you can see with your eyes as your arms come out. So we're just playing with what I would call, and the book calls it, panoramic gaze. You can look over and see, when you've lost where your hands are. But now as you bring your arms down, you may have a sense, and your eyes can be a little above the horizon, but what if this whole field, including perhaps what's in back of us, is available 360 degrees? Not trying to make it happen, but more a sense of that we may have available through our senses, through sight, a kind of relaxed knowing, more panoramic, that allows us to communicate within and without. So if you'd like, you can continue this very gentle panoramic seeing without trying very much. Your feet can be a comfortable distance apart. Mine go a little bit farther than shoulder distance for this. Let your arms super relax, and you might then have your arms and your palms facing your legs. If you relax your hands, they may come down a little farther. The breathing can still be through nose and mouth, as Donna took us through, but just see how that goes for you. And now bring your shoulders in and up and around. This may remind you of touching feeling that we did. In and up and around. The next time you come down and around, bring your belly in, your navel in toward your spine. So there's a little bit of an intensity. Let your mouth be open. It's like you're giving a little torque to this practice. It may be that as you're doing this movement and you're moving through space, as we interact with the space within and around, perhaps it's coming alive. Panoramic vision if you want. And this time, as you make your way down, you can loosen up your belly. Let your hands and arms relax. Come down, maybe they're coming down in front of you again. Take a moment to loosen up your neck, your chest, but stay with what's coming up. Belly's completely relaxed. Feel your whole body. Knees aren't locked. Can you feel or just imagine where your body, your skin envelope, or maybe your body encased in your clothing, is meeting the space around you? Shoulders may come down a little more, or you may feel the air on your skin, maybe a gentle breeze. So be with that place where your body seems to have its boundary and space begins. Just be interested in that. Is your neck still a little tense? Relax upper body, let your throat a little more. And aware of where you are and where space interacts with you. Feel or imagine that you begin to extend out, maybe a half an inch or a little more. And perhaps the boundaries of your body are not as rigid as you might have imagined. And with each breath in and out, with the extending of the breath out, you may sense or play with a flow that moves out and comes back in. This is called relaxing into space. And we could just wonder about what that is like, relaxing into space. That we may extend through our senses and through a deep knowing that communication is deeper and more wondrous than we consider. And then let's sit down. Just one more practice we'll just touch into. I want to leave us a little time for just to talk about these programs. You can bring one hand up to the opposite side of your neck and the other on the other side. Relax your shoulders. Bring your chin in and close your eyes. belly is still at ease. And it's as if just through this gesture, we may be able to contact and ease kind of inner environment. Healing inner space. It may be that your shoulders come down as you are with the rhythm of your breath. So in joy of being, inner and outer, open into one space, into wholeness. Through our discoveries, through this access to our inner treasures. Now you can bring one hand down slowly and then the other. And if your eyes are closed, as you gently open them, it may be that colors, forms, and shapes are available for nourishment. There may be these deeper worlds of senses that is also part of our home feeling.
In these last couple minutes of our time together, we just wanted to mention these upcoming programs. We have ongoing Kum Nye programs, both for Kum Nye relaxation or Kum Nye Tibetan Yoga, first book practices, as well as the advanced practices in joy of being. But coming up later this year is going to be the start of a Kum Nye teacher training for joy of being. And really, I just want to speak to, and in another year's time, the start of the first level Kum Nye teacher training. This will be our third iteration, starting in August of 2026. And that goes for about 11, almost a full year of weekly classes and weekend workshops. So, you know, if people are interested, we do have a website, Kum Nye teachertrainingberkeley.com. And let me hand it over to Abbe.
Yes, and this Joy of Being teacher training is going to begin this October of 2025, and it goes through, it sounds very long, but February of 2027, and it's for those, some of you have taken the first, one of the iterations of the first teacher training, but it's also available for those of you who have a Kum Nye practice and who would like to deepen your practice. You don't have to become a teacher. It's possible, you have to apply for the program, but it's possible then to continue with this and just study it for the love of it, you could say. And there will be, starting in October, weekly Joy of Being classes and also 9 weekend workshops over that time. This information, much of it is already on the Kum Nye teachertrainingberkeley.com website, but you can also get hold of us, go to the Nyingma Institute website if you want to hear more about this program, possible to apply for it. Also, I wanted to say that it's an international group of teachers who teach in this Joy of Being program, because many people have their own lineage of doing Joy of Being in their own way. So best to be able to work with different teachers and open into, the particular wisdom that each person offers. So there's probably other questions, or do we have time for a question or two for people?
If anybody has a question, we'd be happy to stay for a couple extra minutes. So we realize 7 o'clock hour has arisen or arrived. So anybody have a question? All right. So this has been Kum Nye Talk. So let's take a moment to just bring to mind, we typically dedicate the benefit of coming together in this way, practicing together, to dedicate the benefit to our own well-being, but also develop the wish to share and expand this wish to include those that may be in, that may be in need, or open it widely to include all sentient beings without exception. And together, let's do the Kum Nye closing gesture to seal this wish. So if you're unfamiliar, you can follow along, bring the back of one hand to the forehead, and then switching, hands interlocked, palms up on the knees. Turn the hands down, bringing it into the body. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your time and attention.
And I forgot to mention February 28th and 29th, there'll be a Joy of Being workshop. Right, sorry, July. No, June, it's in June. It's in June, so June 28th and 29th, there's a Joy of Being workshop, and the information's on the Nyingma Institute website where they actually have the correct month. Okay, June. Okay.
All right, thank you all. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening.